Hello and welcome to Theme Park Information. In today's show we're going to be having a review for Mirabilandia over in Italy, quite close to Bologna. I think that's probably the closest major city, and this is the first time I've ever been to this theme park, and I will say I was there pretty impressed for the most part. There were a few issues here and there, but for the most part I just have lots of praise. And I suppose I should start off with slight negativity up front, and that was the car park was a tiny bit of a nightmare. It was a bit of a free-for-all. Now we did arrive a little bit later after the park had opened, and maybe in the morning it's a touch more organised, but it was just a bit chaotic, a bit like people all over the place, cars just on the side of the road, stuff like that. Not ideal. I mean, we did find a place, that was fine, and it would just maybe be a bit helpful if they did have someone out there just making sure everything was, sorted, and some people just being maybe a bit better at parking as well. We did notice a few people kind of taking up two spots or not quite close enough to the car in front, and it would be quite nice if someone had been out there kind of organising it a bit more. So, as a bit of a positive from that, the park was actually very clean, very tidy, very well presented. There was very easy to walk round. I didn't think there was any sort of litter or rubbish anywhere. It was just really well done. The park has two major roller coasters of Cartoon and Ice Speed, both of which were really, really good. I potentially might have a review for them coming up in separate videos. They then also have like a motorbike style coaster, which was actually a lot of fun. That one I think has had quite a few issues in years prior, so it was really good to get on it and experience it, and it was, really, really fun. The food was decent, if not, could be potentially slightly better. Did actually go for like one of the pizzas there, and even though it was mostly really good, we did notice that the crust was really, really hard on it. Not unpleasant, but just, could be slightly better. I did also kind of find it a little bit weird that like dogs are allowed in the park. I do appreciate that is very much country and part Pacific, so I could kind of understand why they are. It's just always a bit weird seeing them. Hopefully they didn't go on any rides or anything. I say the park, very well presented, very nicely laid out. Potentially could do with a little bit better sort of like signage, or one of the things I've seen in other parks is having like arrows pointed on the floor in various colours to go to certain rides. And I also do feel this park could potentially do with a couple more lockers or slightly better locker systems, especially with their like water coaster, because that looks like an absolute soaker. And yet you kind of had it where people were putting their like bags and other bits and pieces just outside the station, which is always a bit risky. I say, especially like when you're there with quite a bit of stuff like cameras and other such. You just don't necessarily want to leave it there. I'm sure Italy is a pretty trustworthy country. I'm sure a lot of countries are pretty trustworthy, but you know what I mean. It just feels a little bit awkward, a little bit unsecure. I say it's a park also as well, which was pretty busy. Like quite a lot of people were there enjoying themselves, and I think that actually really kind of slightly surprised me. I kind of thought maybe Italian theme parks could be a little bit on the sort of quieter side, but no, they were really popular, had a great atmosphere, really good buzz. Staff thankfully did speak English, which is always really helpful. I know that isn't an expectation, but it is always really appreciated when they do. Getting into the park was very simplistic, very easy, no issues there. And in fairness as well, there was no real massive complaints other than the slightly weird car parking, which could be improved, and a slight lack of signage, and potentially just slight improvements on the food as well. But for the most part, just really, really good. And I'd say I would happily go back there. Only downside is it was slightly far from where we were staying in Milan, so it was a bit of a drive, and that is just something to bear in mind. If you're it's sort of like the Bologna area, it's not anywhere near as bad. Also, just to bear in mind, with Italy, there is lots of toll roads, so to drive from Milan to pretty much just past Bologna, it was about sort of 20 euros as such. So there is that to bear in mind. Thankfully, weather-wise, we managed to go there on a very nice day, which is also, again, really appreciated. And thankfully, there was quite a lot of shade, quite a lot of rides have like covered queue lines, which is most appreciated because, the last thing you want is the like warm Italian sun beating down on you. But I'd say I would happily go back. And as I say, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more videos in the future, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.